Klay Thompson is barely a Aquarius man, y'all. Do y'all see those 6 planets in Capricorn? That's some heavy karma. Remember, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so he is here to learn many lessons, more so under the realm of the father, which makes sense. Again, he's the son of an NBA champion. His father, Michael, won 2 championships with the Lakers, so that's a lot of pressure. Also, he's the middle child and he has 2 other siblings, both brothers, so that's a lot of pressure. He has Sun square Pluto. Sun is also father, men, the ego, and Pluto is power struggles, ego. Also, that could be a jockeying between wanting power to be on the same plateau as the father. Again, back to those 6 Capricorn planets, that's career, that's reputation, that's even being a good provider, being a good father, having a strong family. All those things are Capricorn rooted. Now looking at Klay's inner mindset, he has Sun opposite Moon. So any for being born on a full moon, but it sounds kind of cool, but it really sucks because it shows an opposition between the Sun and the Moon, which means Sun is the father, Moon is the mother. It's a high chance your parents were not on the same page at the time in which you were born. Now, oddly enough, this normally manifests as either a divorce transit or a Hollywood romance. In Klay's case, his parents actually married in the 80s and are still together, but I feel like his chart is one of a physical opposition because, again, his father was in the NBA, his father traveled. So I feel like with Klay's chart, you already have someone who is struggling to see a balanced household. Balance meaning a feminine and masculine role, because his mother had to take on both roles to ensure that the household was managed well, while again Michael was out playing basketball, earning the money to make sure that they had a good life. So Klay's Leo moon, so this shows where the mother influence was very loving. Leo is the sun, so in some cases this could be an overbearing, again maybe trying to make up for the absence of the father not being in the household, not being able to be present with her sons. So in this case though, the shadow side of Leo moon is ego, and we're going to talk more about Klay and Meg's charts together, but this is a man who honestly could be insecure around women and women figures and constantly needs his ego stroked. Also, Klay has Mars square Uranus. That Mars square anything is already going to give you a pow. And when you have that in Uranus, that gives a erratic personality. Now, I'm pretty sure he can channel that energy, in his athletics and his NBA career. But I really wonder what he's going to do with that when he is retired, because that's someone that needs to channel that energy out. Otherwise, what they say, autoimmune, this, that, and the other. So one other thing back to Klay's personality and his one Aquarius planet, it is a very strong placement being that it's in the sun. That shows that his ego is choosing detachment. Having 6 Capricorn planets, that's a lot of work you're going to have to do to unpack why are you here, what is your soul mission. And lastly, let's look at the healing path of Klay. Chiron in Cancer. Whatever pressure you may feel to be like your dad or to mimic someone in the family, you need to get over that. Maybe again, you need to embark on more of the feminine qualities of your mom that raised you, or any other women in the household that made up the void for the fact that his father was not present in the household. That is the healing path for Klay.
Let go.
Hello, Klay.
All the sorrow in Meg the Stallion's astrology chart can be traced down to one planet, Saturn, of course, because she has Venus in Capricorn and she has Venus sextile Saturn. So let's take that. Let's analyze these 2 placements together. So don't forget, Saturn rules Capricorn, and even though Saturn looks cool in the skies, those rings are here to squeeze you to unlock some karmic lessons. Now for Meg, think about it. She's already traumatized as heck. Like, I'm sorry, very few people, you lose both your parents, that is going to mess you up. And she has to continue to unpack that her entire life. So that can make you what? Go into intimate relationships very fearful, clinging very tight, because again, you potentially could have an attachment wound. The other thing, this is specifically called out in the Venus sextile Saturn, she's an only child. So imagine losing your parents, losing, losing family members, and you have to get through that by yourself. You don't have a sibling. So for Meg, she is going to have to, again, like it says here with Venus in Capricorn, it is going to produce very harsh love lessons. But what Saturn is testing her ability to still want to fall in love, meet the right partner, and not be afraid or run away just due to the fact that she has suffered loss or tragedy in prior relationships. Saturn is constantly going to be testing her because, again, when she clears past whatever karmic contract she has with clearly these family members and love relationships, then Saturn will reward her with hopefully her happily ever after. She needs some happily ever after. Saturn, get on that. Let's take a look at her parents in her chart. So just like her former boo, Klay Thompson, she has Sun opposite Moon, which shows parents not being on the same page at the time in which you were born. So let's remember that her father was away. He was in jail. So she was raised as an only child with her mother and her mother's family. Sun opposite Mars can mean the father abruptly cut from the life. She lost her father when she was a freshman in high school. Who has Sun opposite Mars, and Mars can represent knife, cunning, crime, aggression, and Sun can mean men. So I would read this as being careful of not attracting men with a temper, men who are prone to violence, honestly, men who have done time. Now, she did end up having a great relationship with her father before. We can see Meg's mother in the chart through the Moon square Pluto. So Moon is also Meg's emotional temperament, and this shows someone who has very intense emotions because Pluto is this planet that represents Scorpio. So she feels very deeply, but Pluto, again, I said it represents Scorpio, the 8th house, and it can be death. So in her case, this is a double entendre because she lost her mother and her grandmother fairly close together in terms of the timeline. So that was Pluto. A square means energies coming together in a harsh potential type of way. And try to manage a lot of this strong karma. We can't help the chart that we are born into. She needs to look towards her North Node. Now, again, we don't have her birth time, so we don't have the house placement, but she has the North Node in Scorpio. I have the North Node in Scorpio, and I hope that she's able to use her pain to build some type of spiritual practice. Also, with the North Node in Scorpio, I had a lot of relatives that had passed over, so I like using spirituality to be able to talk to ancestors. So I hope that she is being able to find some solace with embracing her North Node, which again is your destiny point in your chart. I was wondering how two people with Venus and Capricorn allegedly buy a house so quickly in their new relationship. And ding, 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 the answer is, of course, Neptune. They both have Neptune conjunct Venus in each other's charts. So what that means is the relationship feels good and wonderful, but I'm just going to repeat what the description says. There may be a loss of good judgment. So what's riding on top of this, I'm so in love and I'm so delusional, is the heat, the intensity, and the passion. And that is, they have Sun opposite Mars. So that's a relationship that's going to move quickly, again, with decisions, with how we're going to present ourselves, how we're going to integrate families, aka meeting mamas, but it also has the potential to burn out quickly. Sun opposite Mars is also going to be a lot of makeup to break up. So Meg must have really have gotten fed up with Klay's crap to finally say, hey, enough is enough, and to go public. So, however, let's examine one thing she said specifically in Klay's mood swings due to his NBA career. She's not just venting like a normal girlfriend. She's venting because based on the astrology that they share, they have Klay's moon opposite Meg's Mercury. That's again communication. And again, Klay's Mercury conjunct Meg's Neptune, which dissolves boundaries and again makes her not just hear his words, but feel them. So she was definitely fluctuating. Again, let us not forget that both of them have sun opposite moon. That's a chart where, again, the personality goes back and forth between being in more of a feminine mode and more of a masculine mode, because again, that's a full moon placement. So you oscillate back and forth trying to integrate those two energies. So you naturally have that personality, and here's Meg, like truly again in love. You got Venus and Neptune coming together, delusion. You got Mercury and Neptune coming together, like she's trusting and hanging on to all his words, only for it to just blow up. So speaking of blow up, what is there to learn? Ultimately, this relationship can be summarized by trauma bonding, intense chemistry, and familiarity, because don't forget they both are Sun in Aquarius and they have the same Venus in Capricorn. However, again, with Klay having Chiron in Cancer, Chiron is the wounded healer, opposite Meg's Venus in Capricorn. Ultimately, they came together for a very karmic lesson in love. Going back to when I said trauma bonding, hello, where do we all get twisted and jammed up? It goes back to our childhood wounds. And while we keep meeting maybe the same type of person over and over, like poor Meg, like, we're like, dang, like, girl, we riding for you, but, another public breakup. And Klay is more chill about it, although we finding out that, he's way more thotty than we realized. But that's neither here nor there. I'm going to keep it to the astrology. But again, that is why they came together. Like when Chiron is in place, Cancer, Capricorn, that is some intense karma relating to ancestry, family bonds, the emotional temperament that we get from our family values. That's all those things coming together. And in their case, love also got tangled into the mix.